All right, quick little video to tell you what I've been up to, what I've got going on, and maybe talk a little bit about my journey as a musician, how I've been able to make money as a musician, and what you could do, things you could think about doing to get yourself into the right headspace to make money as a musician in 2023 and beyond. Of course, we got some new stuff coming up, so this video could be obsolete in 3 weeks once AI takes over. So my journey as a musician started as a kid. I took piano lessons and then eventually got into, high school bands and jazz bands, and also got into vocal jazz. And I'd say vocal jazz was probably one of the best things for my ear, trained my ear as a teenager to hear more complex harmonies. And after high school, I went to a local music school just to learn classical music. And for me, that was the perfect thing because I had zero music theory training at that point. I had a pretty good ear. I could play a bunch of instruments like guitar, trumpet, and piano, and bass. And that got me far in terms of playing with bands and stuff like that. And that was really fun. But it wasn't until I went to music school that I was kind of forced to hone my skills in terms of music theory and harmony. That is stuff that is very hard to learn on your own. So when people ask me if music school isn't even necessary anymore, I always think that yes, it is, unless you are somebody who is extremely internally motivated, who can learn that stuff on their own. And the truth is, most of us need some kind of impetus for that. So music school was perfect for me, trained my ear, gave me all of the music theory that I needed to understand the language of music. Do you need music theory to be a musician? Of course not. You can be a great musician. There's loads of great musicians out there who don't understand the basics of music theory or don't read music. That is not what I'm saying at all. But for me, it worked out perfectly. And for what I wanted to do in the future, my music theory knowledge was essential. So university trained my ear, trained my brain for the language of music. And then I was ready to start trying to make money. And so I got into recording as well, went to a recording school. Also something that people ask me, do they need to go to recording school? And again, it just depends on who you are. But in order for me to get my studio going, in order for me to get clients, I decided to go with the low-hanging fruit, which was teaching music lessons. So I taught music lessons for a long time. At one point, I had over 50 students, half hour a week. So it wasn't an insane amount of hours, but it was an insane amount of students, and teaching things like piano and guitar to beginners. And the thing about teaching anything is, of course, it sharpens your own skills in those areas. So really got me to think about what I was doing at the piano or on the guitar, and did that for a couple of years. It was great. And you can make really good money as a music instructor. So don't assume that you're just not good enough as a piano player, say, to teach piano lessons. If you're a teacher, you don't need to have the skills in the technical area of the piano as much as you need to understand the fundamentals and be able to communicate that to a kid. So really great teachers aren't necessarily always the best players. And there's that old adage that if you can't do, teach, but I don't agree with that at all. If you can teach, teach, right? Maybe that's my new t-shirt or something. Anyway, so I taught for a long time. That was great. Next thing I did was to start getting local clients. So putting up signs and having little competitions, to songwriting competitions for some free studio time. I got a whole bunch of clients that way, which was really cool. Put them up at local music stores. And then started contacting places too, started contacting local schools. I started teaching at local post-secondary schools, teaching music production. And I've done that ever since. So I'm still part-time teaching at local universities. And it's got to be one of the most rewarding things that I've done. And of course, for me, that wasn't the only thing I did. I got right into sound design. So found a local film that was being produced and said, hey, I want to do music for your film. And I even got a sample of the script from somebody that I knew on set. And it was, a low budget $1 million movie. And I got the script, and I recorded the script in my software, and then started making my own soundtrack to the script, and then sent that audio or brought that audio to the director and said, hey, I want to do the music for a film. This is what I would do. And I played it for the director, and he was super excited about it and said, okay, well, we'll give you a bunch of chunks of the film, and if you want to do the music for it, send it back to us, and we'll watch it and see if you can do the whole film. So I got the whole film, and it was an amazing experience. I was in my mid-20s at the time, and they also asked if I did sound design, and I was like, no, I don't, but I can. I'll learn it. I had a whole year basically to learn sound design and do sound design for the film as well. So that was kind of my entrance into the sound design world, and it was amazing. You'll see lots of videos on my channel about sound design, and if you're a musician who loves doing music production, do not overlook sound design, sound effects, and even recording dialogue and stuff like that, because it's all very musical and all very related to the skills you have maybe with your music production. So sound design, another huge place to go make money. Will AI be able to take over the sound design world? Maybe. I think in the future, people will still want to record their own voice. So I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And then another thing that I got into was recording music and sound effects for an ESL program. So there's this huge ESL program out of Japan. I did that for about 8 years, and it was amazing. It was full-time work, creating songs for this curriculum that was designed to teach students who don't speak English how to speak English. And it started from a very early age, so very juvenile songs, lots of kid songs. And then for me personally, after that, I got into video production because, believe it or not, those two things, music, sound, and video, are all kind of related. Even editing video is very related. So definitely consider picking up a camera, learning the basics of cameras, and making video part of what you do. And then once you have those two things in your back pocket, there's not a lot of people who can do that kind of stuff, do video production, music production, and sound. So you start to create a little bit of a niche for yourself. And I think in the future, if you have those three abilities, you're going to be able to do a lot that AI just can't do, right? You go to a client and capture their story, which needs to be done with a camera, and then treat it with sound. And whether you're using AI to help you just get the job done faster, there's nothing wrong with that either. The last thing for me, and the newest frontier for me, and something I can't wait to share on my channel, is video games, doing sound and music for video games. A couple of years ago, I did some music and some sound for a friend of mine on his little tiny video game, his little iOS video game. And then my friend who made that video game, after a couple of years of making games and working for different companies, ended up getting picked up by the company that is now making the newest Paw Patrol mobile game for toddlers. And came back to me and said, Jeff, we need music and sound for this. Do you want to do it and pitch it to the company? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So that was almost a year ago. And this new Paw Patrol game is coming out in September, October. And it's going to be called Paw Patrol Academy. And I'm doing the music and the sound for it. Everything kind of led up to this point, and I've had now full-time work almost since November on this project. So that's where I've been, and I gotta say, it's been an incredible experience working with really great people, working on a great project, and doing all sorts of very unique and cool things that I never thought I would be doing, like recording the voiceover with my own voice for some of the characters in the show. And my kids are doing some of the voices for characters in the show. Because of union rules, we weren't allowed to use the voices of the original characters, even though it's put out by the company that owns Paw Patrol. So very cool project. I'm so glad I can finally talk to you about it and let you know a little bit more about it as things go on. And as I said, in the future, I will be doing some videos specific to game audio and how you can take your skills with your music production that you've already got and then apply that to video games. And it's very cool stuff. I'm using a program called Fmod, and Fmod is kind of like this middleware between the music composer and the programmer, because it will take care of all of the programming, and you're able to do musical things like have a piece of music loop over for 8 bars until something happens in the game. So maybe some kid gets to the next level or things amp up just a little bit. As soon as that things amp up, you can have the music jump to a different version where you have all sorts of other things. Maybe another drum track comes in or something, but it'll jump at a musical time. So you can have the music not just skip in the middle of a bar. It'll actually wait till the end of a bar, then jump to this new progression. You can have all sorts of things like music that appears only when a character gets to a certain point in proximity of an event in the game. It is crazy, mind-blowing stuff, but it's very musical, and it would be very hard for me to articulate things like bars and beats to a programmer that doesn't know anything about music, right? So it takes care of all of that kind of stuff. So this connection between the composer and the programmer is very smooth now. It's very cool stuff. Can't wait to show it off to you and then tell you more about the project once it gets released. And the last thing I'll say about my journey and what I've done is YouTube. Starting it was one of the best things I've done because I've never been to a community that was more supportive. So if you're thinking about doing YouTube videos, just start doing it. It's a bit of a pain to do something like a weekly video or a daily video. I don't do that, but it's opened up a ton of connections with really amazing companies. And I gotta say, if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I don't know if I would have got the job doing the composition for the Paw Patrol video game, because it does give you a little bit of clout, right? It's like, oh, this person's got a lot of followers and is doing great stuff there. Maybe they'll do great stuff in my project as well. But honestly, if your main reason for YouTube is to help others and not necessarily to sell stuff for a company or to make connections, you're going to find it the most rewarding thing. And that's what I've tried to do, is focus on helping people listen to what the commenters want to see in videos and then do those videos and watch the benefits come back. Because man, it feels good when people say, thank you so much. This really helped me out. That has been my journey. That's where I'm at right now. Very exciting times. So stay tuned. More content coming. Thanks so much for your support so far, and I'll see you in the next video.